Is there an obligation for a woman to dress a certain way? We see in the Torah that when Rivka was approaching Yitzchak, her betrothed, she got from the camel and she put on her veil. We know that a veil is something that a woman who's about to go to marriage does, as we see from Yaakov. Well, it doesn't say it explicitly in the Torah because he was fooled and Leah was given to him instead. Clearly, she must have been wearing a veil on their wedding night. Tamar also wore a veil when she took off her widow garb and wanted to get betrothed, so to speak, to Yehuda. Therefore, it seems like single women do not have to wear a veil, but when you're going to be betrothed, you wear a veil. But we're not talking about veils, are we? In Psalms, it says, all the honor of the daughter of the king is on her inside. Some take that to mean that she should dress modestly and act modestly. It says that you should walk with God in a modest way. In the Talmud, it explains that means doing favors to people that cannot be returned, like burying the dead. It also means doing things that might give you extra honor, but doing it in a private way, like giving charity or learning Torah. There is a Gemara that talks about that the practice of Jews is that a woman does not go in the marketplace and spin wool. Why is talk about spinning wool? Rav Yehuda says she shows her arms in public. Rav Chizda says it actually means she spins red thread and she puts it near her face to show off her beauty. Or it could also mean that she talks to the men in the marketplace. And then Rav Yehuda goes and says another opinion where he says it means she flirts with people. Flirting with men and talking to them and even the red wool, that makes sense because that's something that is improper and not a modest behavior for a woman to do. As far as rolling up your sleeves, and that's the reason spinning wool is not an activity that one would think would cause a woman to roll up her sleeves. If anything, it may be baking, doing laundry, work, or some sort, but it doesn't say that. Also, in those times, there was a style where women would go sleeveless, especially the Roman women. And you would think that the Talmud written at that time would say that a Jewish woman should not go like that a little more explicitly. The Talmud does say that according to the house of Shammai, a man may divorce his wife if she is acting in a way that brings on nakedness, erva, which refers to illicit relations. In the Jerusalem Talmud, that this refers to going out with her hair not in the marital braid, or she goes out and has the sides of her dress open and her arms bare. The question is the sides of her dress open causing her arms to be bare, or is that two different things? Like, for instance, the sides of her dress being open are exposing her thighs, and or her arms are bare. When the Bavli speaks about this Mishnah, it says that the sides of the dress are open. Rashi explains it means the arms are bare. So it seems like since the Bavli only said the sides of the dress are open, the implication is that her arms are out. And that's an issue. So there it does talk about the dress. However, one, she does not lose a ksuba for this behavior. Two, it is not the practice of Jews for this behavior. It is only something that the House of Shammai is saying a husband who has different expectations can divorce his wife. And three, he doesn't have to divorce his wife for this, nor does it say his behavior is wrong. If he has expectations, and this is what the expectations of the marriage were, and in the place where people don't do it, then it's something where Beis Shammai says, yes, you get divorced for that reason. Of course, Beis Hillel says you get divorced for her burning the soup. Of course, the Torah, Rambam, and Shulchan Aruch grab on to the previous Talmud and say that a woman should not spin wool in public. She should not spin red wool. She should not talk to other men. She should not flirt. And of course, she should not bare her arms. While it does talk about how a man should not stare at certain parts of women, it also talks about a man should not stare at her clothes or at her pinky. And we're not advocating that women go in gloves. So therefore, those obligations of men, as far as obligations on women, that's not in Rambam Torah or Shulchan Aruch, that's not in the Torah, and that's not in the Talmud. Any questions, let me know.